Section 1, the future self, are past, present, and future. The time perspective theory of Philip Sibardo, 1999, explains that people are likely to sort, categorize, and analyze their human experiences into past, present, and future time frames, influenced by personal, social, and institutional factors. The 5-time perspective are present, hedonistic, fatalistic, past positive, future-oriented, and healthy. So, hedonistic individuals tend to be risk takers, while fatalistic individuals are those who feel their lives are out of control. Past positive individuals remain in their comfort zone, while future-oriented individuals base their present choices and action on long-term consequences. Why is future self important? So it is important because taking the time emotionally connect with our future selves can change the way we think and strengthen our ability to make positive choices in the present moment. So making simple changes such as playing out a decision before we act on it, it can connect us more deeply to our future self. So for example, when you are conscious of your future self, you are more likely to save for retirement or make healthy choices, such as choices or investment in the self you will become. Thus, your connection to your future self creates a forward-thinking way of living in the present.
What is future self in understanding the self? In psychology, the future self research explores the processes and consequences of thinking about yourself in the future, and it's part of a broader concept called possible selves. Possible selves are multiple alternative versions of yourself that include past and future selves. What is towards an optimistic future? It is understanding the self is not just about knowing and recognizing oneself as a product of different life factors. The self and its potentials and limits can be more thoroughly understood by using a time-oriented lens, which focuses on how the self evolves from being the self of the past, of the present, and the possible self in the future. How do you become a future self? Start acting like your future self rather than your former self. Embrace your uncertainty and change. Embrace learning and failure. Never be defined by now. Engage in deliberate practice so that over time, you'll grow into your own ever-evolving story.
Present versus future self. Many people find it difficult to save money, and growing body of research is aimed to making it easier. One finding has been that everyone has subconscious, present self and future self. Unfortunately, these two selves often have different motivations. Moreover, they always have different amounts of influence because the present self is present while the future self is not. To quote psychologist Daniel Goldstein, "There's nobody to stick up for the future self. It doesn't even have a lawyer present. So how does anyone convince the present self to make decisions more aligned with the future self's interests?" One technique is the commitment device, behavioral contract with yourself. Unfortunately, it's easy to wiggle out of self-directed promises. Most people can readily come up with the reasons why eating less, exercising more, saving part of each paycheck doesn't really need to happen today. Put differently, the present self decides that the future self will take care of it. Behavioral economist Wendy De La Rosa of Duke University suggests that a succeed commitment device require an environmental change. In her personal effort to reduce daily spending, for example, simply promising herself she'd cut back it didn't work because nothing had changed in her spending environment. So she switched to using a preloaded debit card. When the money ran out, she had to either stop spending or go through the effort of reloading the card. This small obstacle and the feedback is provided help her succeed. Psychologist Goldstein and his colleagues have suggested that his present self may have trouble picturing the future. So they've developed virtual reality simulators to make it more real. One simulator shows participants 100 financial outcomes, ranging from doing well in retirement to barely making ends meet. When a subject commits to a certain behavior on the simulators, such as monthly saving, some outcomes become less likely and disappear from the screen. With each decision, more outcomes disappear until only one remains. Another simulator shows subjects that their future will be able to buy as opposed to a numerical outcome. For example, when a participant elects an amount to save now, she can see what quality of housing her future selves will be able to afford. Most subjects experience some motivating joy when they saw the positive effect of certain decisions on their future. Particularly interesting are psychologist Hal Hirschfield's studies in which participants look at aged versions. The premises lies in life transitions that have enabling influence on one's future selves. When there are changes in one's present life circumstances, example, entering a new grade level, transferring to a new school, shifting to a new course, experiencing changes in family situation, etc. There will also be changes to how future life perspectives are viewed. However, people are not passive recipients of these changes with human agencies. An individual is able to affect those changes for her future. The last premise is based on the concepts of proximal and digital goals. People are more motivated to work on goals that are more immediate than those which are not. Thus, some students lay down simple steps and concrete plans in ensuring their goals are achieved. Setting short-term by term, semester, year, and long-term goals by 5 years to 10 years is one way of ensuring that their future self is fulfilled. Based on the premises laid out above, the future self is not possibly that it is one out of hands. Having a clear vision of the future planning and weighing present options, and making the right choices can lead to an optimistic future. Thus, one has the power and agency to shape her future while living in the present. The possible selves. While one lives in the present and is bounded by present circumstances, she has the capacity to make the right choice that will have consequences and repercussions for the future. The possible self theory has outlined 6 philosophical premises that are not only crucial to one's full self-understanding, but also vital in shaping one's future. Possible self is both a motivational resource and behavioral blueprint of the self. How one envisions himself herself to be fuels her drive to achieve her plans for the future, enables him or her to set specific short and long-term goals. Aside from having these concrete goals and thoughts, derive pleasures and satisfactions in making those plans. This further channeling behavior towards that end. Not all future selves are positive. Future selves revolve around three ideas: what one might become out to selves, what one would like to become ideal or hope for selves, and what is afraid to become feared selves. Setting goals must be done realistically, and in doing so, one needs to consider what he/she wants to become, but also the possible negative outcome of his ambitions. One's future self is intertwined with his/her past and present selves. Present situations enable one to think clearly for his or her options and their decision he/she needs to take, which would bring him/her closer to his future goals. On the other hand, experience also shapes how one perceives the future, becomes of enduring concerns or unfinished businesses that are brought to the present and thus may be driving force to one's future plans. Future selves are a product of social interactions. How one's future or foreseen is a product of social context, family, peers, and colleagues, schools, and other institutions. The society and the digital world, the technical landscape the millennials are exposed to via social media, web application, technology-driven resources has shaped their future ambitions in determining the digital legacy they want to leave behind. Particularly interesting are psychologist Hal Hirschfeld's studies in which participants look at aged versions of themselves, which John Brock wrote about last year. As John mentions, people act more sympathetically toward future selves. They can actually see. Well, to liven things up a bit, Goldstein and Hirschfeld have teamed up on subsequent studies that add emotions reactions to the present and future selves photos. For example, if a subject chooses to save instead of spend, the present self frowns while the future self smiles. If he opts to buy something instead, the opposite occurs. Whatever ultimately gets people to take care of their future selves, the words of 19th century economist Nasa Williams Sr. certainly remain true. To abstain from the enjoyment which is in our power, or to seek distance rather than immediate results, are among the most painful exertions of the human will.